Week 3 of the 2022-23 NBA season is in the books, which means it's time to run it back. This is Run It Back, NBA Week in Review.
Pick and roll, post up, crossover, step through, step back, corner three, dribble, drive to the hoop. We provide hoop news, hoop court truths, voice of the fan, win or lose. In-depth reports, locker room to the court. Peace basket can grasp all facets of the sport. So look here, lend the air in the air is the sound of hoop fanatics in the atmosphere. Your expectations, we will surpass it. Attractive like a magnet, tuned in the Peach Basket. Live broadcasting, even podcasted. Got a question, don't hesitate to ask it. Intelligent news with no static. Turn on your tablet when you gotta have it. Drop updates quick like
I'm Jose Salviati, editor and contributor at thepeachbasket.net. Today we will look back at the top performers by average in the NBA for week number 3, share our math-based NBA rankings, and then discuss the NBA question of the day. Who is the biggest name to be moved before the season's trade deadline? I'm happy to be joined by Isaac Edelman of our partner site, flteams.com, to discuss that question and a few other things. First thing we want to do, though, is take a look back at the best of the third week of the NBA in a segment we call NBA 6D. These are the best of week 3, the best dunk, dish, dazzler, dime, dagger, and unfortunately, the dud of week number 3. The dagger of the week belongs to Sacramento and De'Aaron Fox. Who did that? Logo 3 for the win. We head to LA for the best dime, courtesy of a rejuvenated Russell Westbrook. He looks like he's having fun again. The deny is yours, Miami. Bam with his chase down block.
Bam's looking good this year. I love to see it. Hopefully that can happen in the playoffs.
For the dunk, he's back. Zion, look at this windmill. The dunk of the week. The dazzler is this crafty play by Goran Dragic with his behind the back special. Saving the worst for last as we always do. The dud belongs to Kyle Kuzma for this. NBA 6D, the best dunk, dish, dazzler, dime, dagger, and dud of the week. All right, just a quick reminder to check our site for individual team weekly recaps. We used to do them as part of our show here, but made the show kind of long. So, and we wanted to give more time for people, passionate basketball fans, to talk about their team. So take a look at our site, thepeachbasket.net, for weekly recaps for your favorite team. If you don't see your team, then reach out. Maybe you're the person to run that show. We'd love to hear from you. Now let's take a look at the power rankings for week number 3. Isaac, I will tell you that there was a mistake with my algorithm here, so there are a couple of mistakes which I fixed, but not before I shared this. So I don't want to dive too deep into the movers and the people that are, the teams that are moving up and down. Instead, I want to talk about the surprise teams. When I look at this, because the order didn't change too much despite my error. When I look at this, I am shocked by OKC, the youngest team in the NBA, at number 4. They're only 4-4, but they're beating good teams. You can see that QW column. That's quality wins. They took the Clippers twice. Matter of fact, those might be their 2 quality wins. And then Atlanta at 7-3. They might be 6-3. That's where my spreadsheet made a mistake. But I didn't think they would be quite that good. I thought they were going to take a little bit of time to get used to the dynamic duo in the backcourt. What do you see that surprises you when you look at these rankings?
Well, obviously, you're going to be ranked in a place where your record tells you, right? So, for example, the Houston Rockets and Orlando Magic, they have the worst records in the NBA, so they're obviously going to be last place. One thing that has surprised me, though, is, if you're just looking at it, the Toronto Raptors. Because, first of all, I don't think they're the third best team in the East, so that's definitely sticks out. And also the fact that they're 6-4 and they're third, right? Obviously, they're ahead of the Atlanta Hawks, who are 7-3, ahead of the Celtics and Chicago Bulls, who have the same amount of wins. So it's really interesting. And also, they have zero quality wins. So yeah,
Right.
it's just interesting to see them up there. I do want to give a shout out to the Orlando Magic though, because if this was, I know this is power rankings, but if this was entertainment rankings, they would be at number one because they only have one win this season, but they've been fun to watch. They've been so fun to watch.
Nice. I can't wait to see him. I can't wait to see Banchero play. I've seen some highlights, but I haven't seen the team. One of the things that we are going to start doing, I'm really excited, kind of just to break the news here. We are an official partner at playback.tv. So we're going to start to host watch parties. And what we're going to try to do a little different than others who are doing these is when the Clippers or the Lakers play the Orlando Magic, I want to do a watch party with Isaac. He's watched this team. He knows that team. I'll have a ton of questions. And I think it'll be fun, to get two different views as we watch this team play the LA teams. But yeah, good call out. I'm excited for to see the Magic, and despite their record, I think there's certainly value in being fun to watch, which is something
Also,
the team in LA is not right now. The Clippers actually. Go ahead.
just looking at it, yeah, the Clippers are very low, 6-4, but they are down on that list.
Yeah, two bad losses. They lost back-to-back to the Thunder. Now, our rankings are based, and we make a big point of this. They're based on strength of schedule, essentially, right? Who you win, and who you beat, rather, who you play, and where you play them. And everything starts with the strength of the team. The Oklahoma City Thunder were not expected to be a good team this season. So when you lose to them, you lose points, which is why you see the Clippers down so low. The Clippers were meant to be good this season. So when you beat them, like the Thunder did, you gain points, which is why they're up high. But the first 2, 3, 4 weeks of our power rankings are kind of a mishmash because you just don't have enough sample size, right? So over time we'll start to see this correct itself. But interesting, I think there are some surprises. The Utah Jazz, which we've talked about, the Spurs in the West were not supposed to be good, and they're not bad. Utah is looking to be a real surprise, and maybe for real. I'm not sold yet, but maybe they're for real. We'll see. Let's turn our attention then to the best performances in week number 3. In 6D, what we shared were, our opinion, the best dunk, the best dime, the best dazzler, etc. These are the guys who actually averaged the most in week 3. These were the best performances by average in week 3. Luka Doncic had the most points, or averaged the most points at 34. James Harden with 13.5 assists. Nikola Vukovic at 13.3 rebounds. OG Anunoby, 5.3 steals. And Bismack Biyombo with 3.5 blocks. All right, that takes us then to the question of the day. This is probably my favorite segment because this is where we get to just kind of talk it through. Isaac and I and others who have joined this show in the past were fans of the NBA. We love to talk NBA. And right now there's a lot of chatter. And there is always about the trade deadline. It's months away. We're not even the same year as the trade deadline, but people are talking about it. Who is the biggest name to be moved before the season's trade deadline? It's obviously way too early to discuss this, but that's what we do, especially early in the season. That's the NBA question of the day. You'll see here some of the, if you're watching and not listening, some of the usual suspects around this time, at least this season. Jay Crowder, Russell Westbrook, Eric Gordon, Harrison Barnes. You can pick someone off the list, Isaac, or you can go off script. Who do you think will be the biggest name to be moved this NBA season?
It's way too early, but I will. I will give my player. I was thinking Lauri Markkanen, but I have
He's
the Utah.
good. He's been so good.
I had the Utah Jazz making the playoffs. Cough, cough. If you're Jose, that should be your trade deadline pick because he is not just so good this season, but if you had the Jazz having a 0% chance of making the playoffs, you would have them trading Markkanen, right? But for me, no. I was thinking Markkanen, but I have the Jazz making the playoffs, so you would keep Markkanen, right? So I'm going to go with a team that's not going to make the playoffs, and I'm going to go with someone whose name is not on this list. It's going to surprise a lot of you. I don't know if you guys will agree, but I think the Brooklyn Nets are going to trade someone, and the reason is
Yeah.
I think they're going to figure out very quickly that the East is way too talented, and they need a younger team. I think, and this could take you by storm. And again, it's a really early prediction. I think they could trade one out of these three players: Ben Simmons, KD, or Kyrie Irving.
Yeah.
That should take you by storm. But I really think that the Nets are going to figure out that they need younger pieces on this team, and they could get a ton of young pieces in return for Ben Simmons. I know, but his defensive skill is talented. Kyrie and KD. So yeah, the Nets are in a talented conference. And yeah, they just need younger pieces. So don't be surprised if the Nets trade one out of those three players.
That's a great answer. And I'm kicking myself for not adding just the Nets logo into this picture here. Because you're right, man. I think it's time to blow it up. I think Brooklyn really doesn't have a path forward right now. It's unfortunate, but I think one of the toughest things to do, right, as a governor of a team, as a GM of a team, is to make that decision, right. It's also tough to trade that much value, right?
Yeah.
All of those guys you rattled off, Kyrie, KD, and Ben Simmons, have huge, monstrous contracts, and it's hard to move that much money. So it's going to be tough. Just like, the guy we're seeing here on the screen, Russell Westbrook, the Lakers have wanted to move him for a year. Can't really. It's just because in part because he makes too much money. So yeah, I think you're right on. I think that's probably the answer. The biggest name will likely be somebody who's currently wearing a Brooklyn Nets jersey. I think them aside, I'll just answer it, going a different direction. I think clearly the biggest name is going to be Russ. Westbrook will be moved. I've said it from the start. The Lakers have been trying to move him for a year. What makes things different now is that his contract is an expiring contract. Whoever brings him on is not going to have to pay the full amount of his contract and will get all that money cleared at the end of the year. That's attractive because, again, it's a significant amount of money. So I do see him being moved. It'll be interesting to see if he gets moved to a contender or if he gets moved to a team that's really just kind of looking, maybe like Brooklyn, who's just kind of looking to blow things up, who isn't going anywhere. At least, that's what it looks like in Brooklyn now. But he'll probably be the biggest name to move outside of, the Brooklyn Nets. And but be interesting, if KD is swapped for Ross or Kyrie, which has been an ongoing rumor for months here in LA. We'll see how it plays out. It'll be very interesting, of course, way too early, and a lot of things are going to change between now and the trade deadline. But the Lakers are struggling. Brooklyn is struggling. Might make sense to shake things up there. That would be a very, very interesting trade. And I think as they both continue to lose, it becomes more and more likely. So hey, good call out, Isaac. I feel bad that I didn't include them in this list.
But going back to one last thing I said, if you're not on the Jazz hype train, I think Markkanen is an absolute must move. Move. He's having an elite season. He might be an all-star. I don't know if someone like Markkanen, because he's not that flashy, gets a lot of hype, especially because the Jazz are not that popular right now, and you're not going to see them all over social media. But Markkanen is an absolute all-star candidate. I mean, he is putting up numbers that are unbelievable, and no one expected this because he wasn't the biggest player or piece on the Chicago Bulls.
Yeah, it's there's something about being on the right team, right time, right coach, right environment. And it certainly looks to be what's happening for Markkanen. I had no idea that the Jazz were as good as they were. I watched them recently. I'm going to watch them as soon as we hang up this call. But they're good, and he's good. And, yeah, they keep winning. He's an all-star. Yeah, but they lose. You're going to start to see them continue to get rid of contracts like his to build something new.
Jazz
in
Clippers. There's your second chance to see Kelly Olynyk. And I mean, all of the pieces are coming together. It's like this is the best rebuild. It's kind of the worst rebuild because you don't want a rebuild to go like this. So it's the worst rebuild, but that's a good thing. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. It's a bad rebuild in the sense that it's working, which is good for Utah, and it's always good to have good teams. In Utah, that's a hard.
You know what's funny? Colin Sexton isn't even getting a lot of minutes this season. He's not even in the starting lineup. Yeah. So you're looking at someone that was expected to be their star player besides Clarkson, and he's not even a top 5 player on their team right now.
Yeah, we'll see. Sexton's a good piece. Clarkson's a good piece. Markkanen, of course. They still got Mike Conley. Yeah. They're playing well. Outside of that, I couldn't name their coach. I couldn't name anybody else on the team, but I'm excited.
Before we end this show, is there anyone else, Jose, that, any other players that are sticking out this season besides, Markkanen and the Utah Jazz? Are there any other players that are like hidden that many people don't know about, but they have been having terrific seasons?
Let's save that for the question of the day next week, I think, because that's a good question. I off the top of my head, all of the players I can think of that I've watched that have just blown my socks off are people that you all know. My first name that came to mind was John Morant. He's doing some amazing things in Memphis. But yeah, obviously he's not an under the radar kind of guy. So I think that's a fair question. Let's see if we can't save that for next week and give me a week to think about it.
I'll give you my second pick. I'm not gonna give you this name next week.
Okay.
There's this guy in the Indiana Pacers who I've done some research on, Benedict Mathurin. He is having a terrific season. I had no idea who he was, and if you look at his stats, they're pretty good. So search the name up, Benedict Mathurin.
All right. We'll see if we can call him out. I've got a San Antonio Spur in mind that recently torched one of the LA teams. So, yeah, that's a good question. That's a little bit of a teaser for next week.
He's a rookie, too, so, of course, no one knows who he is.
Oh, there you go. All right. That's it. That's our show. Week number 3 of the NBA 2022-23 season is in the books. Join us next week after week number 4 when we once again run it back. Thanks for joining. We'll talk next week. Right, I did.
Pick and roll, post up, crossover, step 2, step back, corner 3, dribble, drive to the hoop. We provide hoop news, hoop court truths, voice of the fan, win or lose. In-depth reports, locker room to the court. Peace, basket, congrats, all facets of the sport. So look here, lend the air in the air is the sound of hoop fanatics in the atmosphere. Your expectations, we will surpass it. Attractive like a magnet, tuned in the peach basket. Live broadcasting, even podcasted. Got a question, don't hesitate to ask it. Intelligent news with no static. Turn on your tablet when you gotta have it. Drop updates quick like a rabbit. We got the answers, check out Peach Basket. Peach Basket, Peach Basket. Peach Basket, Peach Basket. Peach Basket, Peach Basket. The voice of the fan, the voice of the fan.